In this video, we're going to talk about how you multiply integers and decimals. Now, the biggest thing that you need to know when you are multiplying is that if your numbers have the same sign, so they're either both negative or both positive, your final answer will always be positive. Now, if they had different signs, let's say one's negative and one's positive, if they have different signs, your answer will always be negative. So if we take a look at number 1, we have a negative 4 times a positive 3 and 21/100ths. They have different signs. So after I go about multiplying these, I know my answer has to be negative since they have different signs. So let's start multiplying. The first thing we want to do is count how many numbers are behind the decimal point. Negative 4 does not have a decimal point, so we know there's none behind our 4. If we look at 3 and 21/100ths, there are 2 numbers behind our decimal point, a 2 and a 1. So on the side over here in parentheses, I'm going to put a number 2. That's how many numbers in total were behind our decimal point. And now I'm going to multiply. I'm going to ignore my decimal point when I multiply. I'm also going to ignore my negative sign because I know when I get to my final answer, if it's positive or negative, and that 2 in parentheses is going to come in handy when we get our final answer. So number up top is going to be the one with the most digits. It just makes life easier. So 321, again, ignore your decimal point, times 4. And again, I'm ignoring my negative. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And 4 times 3 is 12. And I get 1,284. Now, if we take a look at the number that we put in parentheses, it's a 2. That 2 is telling us how many numbers are behind our decimal point in our final answer. So 1 number, 2 numbers, I know my decimal point has to go in front of both of those. So final answer is 12 and 84/100ths. However, it's negative because we had different signs. One was negative, one was positive. So I know my final answer has to be negative 12 and 84/100ths for number 1. For number 2, they have the same sign. They're both negative, which means I'm going to have a positive final answer. So let's count how many numbers are behind our decimal point. There is 1. So I'm going to put a 1 on the side in parentheses. And again, I'm going to multiply now like the decimal doesn't exist, as well as the negative. So let's put 73 up top, times 12. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 7 is 14. When you move down to the next line, make sure you add a placeholder of 0. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 7 is 7. And now we can go about adding these. And since I'm out of space, I'm just going to add it over here. 6 plus 0 is 6. 4 plus 3 is 7. And 1 plus 7 is 8. And we get 876. Our number in parentheses is a 1, which means we're going to have 1 number behind our decimal point, which is the 6. So I know my decimal point goes in front of that. And my final answer is going to be positive because both of our numbers were negative. They had the same sign, which means I'm going to have a positive result. So for number 2, we get 87 6/10. If we take a look at number 3, 18 is positive. 6 and 142 thousandths is negative. They have different signs. So I know my final answer has to be negative. We'll count the number behind our decimal point now. We have 1, 2, 3. So 3 in parentheses over here. And let's multiply. Write the number with the most digits up top. So we have 6,142 times 18. 8 times 2 is 16, carrier 1. 8 times 4 is 32, plus 1 is 33, carrier 3. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 3 is 11, carrier 1. 8 times 6 is 48, plus 1 is 49. Again, when you move down to the next line, make sure you add a placeholder of 0. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. And finally, 1 times 6 is 6. And now we can add these. 6 plus 0 is 6. 3 plus 2 is 5. We get 5 again. Looks like 10, carrier 1. and 11 to finish it off. So we get 110,556. We have a 3 in our parentheses, which means that we're going to have 3 numbers behind our decimal point. So I know my decimal point has to go in front of the 556. And my answer is going to be negative because they had different signs. So my final answer, negative 110 and 556 thousandths for number 3. For number 4, they are both positive. They have the same sign. So I know my final answer is also going to be positive. Count how many numbers are behind your decimal point. 1. It's just that 2. So 1 in parentheses. And now, once again, let's multiply. So 1 with the most digits up top, we have 122 times 23. 3 times 2 is 6. Then we have 3 times 2 again. 3 times 1 is 3. Move down, you add a placeholder of 0. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4 again. And then 2 times 1 is 2. Then if we add these, 6 plus 0 is going to give us 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. Make sure to carry your 1. 4 plus 3 plus 1 is 8. And 2 plus nothing is 2. Our 1 in parentheses tells us there's 1 number behind the decimal point, so it's going to be 280.6. And again, since they're both positive, our final answer is also positive. So for number 4, we get 280 and 6/10 for our final answer. Now, before you go, I have a couple problems that I want you to try on your own. So if I scroll down here, there are 3 more problems that I would like you to try. So I encourage you to pause the video here, see if you can solve numbers 1, 2, and 3 by yourself. Once you think you have all the answers, come back and play the video and see if you got them all right. So at this point, I'm assuming you've paused the video, you've tried 1, 2, and 3 out, and let's see how you did. So for number 1, they are both negative numbers. Since they are both negative numbers, they have the same sign. Your final answer should be positive. Now let's count how many numbers are behind the decimal point. We have 1, 2. So I'm going to put a 2 in parentheses on the side here. And now I'm going to multiply. The number with the most digits goes up top. So 687 times 9. 9 times 7 is 63. Carry your 6. 9 times 8 is 72, plus 6 is 78, so write your 8, carry your 7. 9 times 6 is 54, plus 7 is 61, so we get 6,183. The 2 in parentheses again tells us how many numbers are behind our decimal point, so 1, 2, decimal point in front of those. And my answer is going to be positive because they had the same sign. So for number 1, you should have had 61 and 8,300. So hopefully you're 1 for 1. And now let's move on to 2. 19's negative. 3 and 192 thousandths is positive. They have different signs, which means your final answer should be negative. Let's count how many numbers are behind our decimal point. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put a 3 in parentheses. And again, we're going to multiply. The number with the most digits is going to go up top. So we have 3,192 times 19. 9 times 2 is 18. Carry your 1. 9 times 9 is 81, plus 1 is 82, so carry your 8. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 8 is 17, carry your 1. 9 times 3 is 27, plus 1 is 28. Again, when you move down to the next line, make sure you had a placeholder of 0. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 9 is 9. We have 1 here, and 1 times 3 is 3. Now we can add these up. We get 8, 4, 16, carry your 1, 10, carry your 1, 6. There are 3 numbers behind our decimal point because we have a 3 in parentheses. So 1, 2, 3, decimal point in front of those. And I know my final answer is going to be negative because our original numbers had different signs. So negative 60 and 648 thousandths for number 2. So hopefully you're 2 for 2. That was definitely a challenging one. So if you got that, very, very nice job. And now we got one more. 43 is positive. 1 and 2 tenths is negative. Different signs means we're going to get a negative result. So 1 number behind our decimal point, that's going to go in parentheses. And again, we're going to multiply. So we have 43 times 12. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. Placeholder of 0. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 4 is 4. And we're going to add those up. So 6 plus 0 is 6. 8 plus 3 is 11. Carrier 1. And you get 516. There's going to be one number behind your decimal point. So that 6 is going to go behind this decimal point. And we know our final answer is going to be negative because we had different signs. So this is negative 51 and 6/10 for our third one. So hopefully you went 3 for 3 in the independent practice. And after watching this video, you can successfully multiply integers and decimals. And I will see you in the next video.